Hello, welcome to a special fall episode. I'm back from my hiatus briefly of Back to the City with Buried Animals.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Thanks for having us back.
Yeah, and so here's Eric and Nigel. And Nigel highlighted as we entered the room, it's cozier than last time. I think that we had an interview right near the beginning of the life of Buried Animals.
It was, very near the beginning. And as we look back, it was probably just pandemic that we had this interview.
Yes, absolutely.
So times have
The before times.
Before times.
Times have changed a lot since then. Yeah.
Speaking of the times, we're right on the cusp of Black Friday, which is the release date of your new EP, Modern Zero Motel.
Yes, indeed.
And then you'll have a release show at Mortimer's on Saturday, January 25th.
That's correct. Yeah. Just to give us a little time after what went into creating the kind of music in the EP is very different from what we've done in the past.
It is,
and so in order to accommodate that, we've had to kind of bring in some other members that we hadn't had before, and so we wanted to give it a sufficient amount of time to do it live properly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm excited to witness the live.
Me too. Yeah, we haven't witnessed it, either of us yet, so yeah.
And of course, so on the previous record there was Seth already. Is that correct? Or?
No, so Seth, at least, Seeing Red and Feeling Blue, our previous release, back in what year was that?
God, what year was that? 2023 time is a flat circle.
Yeah. Seth had not been involved at all yet, and so Seth being our friend and current live drummer, and on this particular project, this EP was a massive, component to making it. I produced and engineered and played a bunch of instruments as well.
Yeah.
So, but this is his first project properly being a part of the actual creation.
Excellent.
Of the music. Yeah.
I've seen footage of Seth playing the guitar. So this is Seth Tracy, of course.
Yes, Seth Tracy. Yeah, and of course.
The one and only.
do we even need to say his last name? Everyone knows.
I know him as a percussionist, though I have also witnessed Seth performing original music of his own, acoustic guitar and singing. So I've always known that Seth is a multi-instrumentalist. But on this record, what is Seth doing?
You want to field this?
Yeah, sure. Did I seem really excited?
Yeah. The mic was getting raised.
Man, that was not intentional. But yeah, I can definitely feel this. Seth does a lot on this EP.
Guitar.
Yeah, guitar, drums, engineered the whole thing, and also contributed background vocals and even a little omnichord action.
Ooh.
That's a little known instrument.
Which song?
It would be on Put a Spell on Me.
Yes.
There's a little, it's sort of hidden in plain sight omnichord action going on. But as Nigel was kind of alluding to, he kind of did a little bit of everything. He was kind of our Swiss Army man on this project. Yeah,
and you already highlighted that there's a lot of new components. I do really love this new sound. I've always liked Buried Animals.
Sure, thank you.
I've spoken with you before, but I do really like this new sound. So what kind of instrumentation can we expect at that Mortimer's show? Which I suppose also relates to what new features do we have on the record as well?
Right. Yeah. Well, as you're aware of, we're from the synth pop kind of world, and how we got there even was we were in a band previously that was very much like a rock band, and
when I first met you.
Yeah, exactly. That's when we first met, and so the whole start of Buried Animals was kind of like a throwing away of things we had done before, and this in a certain way is kind of a similar ethos to that. We're a synth pop band, but what if we didn't play any synths whatsoever? What if it was all just electronic piano, or just piano?
So it was like a conscious challenge that you set yourself to push?
I don't know if I personally saw it as a challenge, but it was more like like R&B and kind of soul music.
Yeah.
Had always been
it's very successfully that. It's
well, it had always been a extremely big influence within the music we already made. It might not have been so overt though, and I just had an opportunity to as we were growing as a band and just as individuals, we've kind of had an opportunity to do stuff a little bit more out on our own, and then kind of bring it together. And this just happened to be a situation where I was just like, these kind of 70s style, ideas were just felt like just kind of pouring out of me, and I needed something I needed a venue, and not literally, but some sort of an avenue to put these out. And so it was just, I didn't consciously view it as a challenge. It was more of just like, it felt like something I had to do.
Right.
And lucky enough, like, I'm in a group where, we're pretty supportive of each other, and, whatever we're trying to do, the other one is, as long as we kind of like, think it's cool, we're right there, like, to be there for each other to get it done,
Distinctly remember a moment where you kind of posed the question to me, something along the lines of like, do you think that's something we should do, or should I do this like in some other format? And I was like, dude, let's do it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I was sort of toying around because, and when you get into a particular bands, some bands are a little bit more focused in what the music they want to do is, and we had definitely been that way, very much like, no, we do synth pop, that's what we do.
To the point where I think the last interview, sorry to interrupt, was I made a quip of like, there are no guitars on this record.
Yeah.
and now it's like there's guitar in every song on this EP.
Right.
So what a difference
no
5
synth.
years makes.
Yeah, there's no synth.
No synth, exactly.
No synth. Yeah, exactly. So it's just I guess it just paints the picture of like how, just where we're at the time. And, we don't have a particular like rule, set of rules that we have to be this or we have to be that. It's just how we're feeling at the time, and that's the only sort of thing that would keep us in any particular area of music. Both of us just have such a varied and variety of tastes, to where we both, I think, find it difficult to just stay in one place for too long.
Yeah.
And I think we've also both always had an affinity for bands who change up their sound but still remain recognizably themselves. I mean, it doesn't always have to be like a Kid A level of reinvention, but keeping it moving, not just like staying in one place is exciting.
Stepping out.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well played.
Speaking of which, that's the opening track on the record.
Yeah.
And it's the first song of Buried Animals that does not have Eric as the vocalist. You have Abby.
That's correct. Yeah.
And it works really well. So could you share a little bit about how that came to be?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like, as you said, this is the first song to not have myself as the lead singer. I'm in there a little bit with some background vocals, but in writing this EP, I was kind of rifling through some older stuff, some stuff I had been writing, and there was this idea, this kind of piano part. I really liked it, and as I was just kind of conceptualizing what the lyrics might be about, I just really was seeing somebody else sing it. I was seeing, in particular, I was seeing a woman singing it, and not myself. And I had been going to see my friend's band, Goat Roper, who's Abby's band.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were just this really fun, like country band. And I'm not normally particularly into country, but I had known Abby for years. We like worked at a restaurant years ago. And yeah, she's just a great singer. And I was like, this would be great. And she had that kind of like country ethos in writing, in the songwriting aspect. And I thought that this song, in just concept and as it had existed only in my head, that it needed some kind of like that kind of ethos behind it. So I asked her if she felt like she might want to, try to work on something together. I had this idea that I thought might be good for her to sing, and it just kind of that's how it started. And we got together, and that was kind of the first real in terms of Buried Animals time that I wrote with someone else that wasn't Nigel, like kind of a full song. We've had people come in.
Did you co-write it then with?
Yeah, so it's Abby and I co-wrote that song together. Yeah.
So the lyrics are a collaborative effort.
Yeah. Like I kind of had the concept and had some ideas for the lyrics, and then she kind of brought some other ones, and we kind of worked it out together, and it was a very fulfilling experience. She's a great songwriter, and she kind of wrote the whole bridge part melodically, kind of worked that whole part out.
Where I get my high heels on and I'm dancing to my song.
Yeah.
With the wind in my hair. This is the song where the 70s soul R&B component is quite
it's right there.
Front to center. Yeah, it's probably my favorite song on the EP. I love it. And what you're saying about the country component, at least the ethos, the story here, we meet this character who has a sense of having been feeling like a book on someone else's shelf, feeling neglected and overdue.
Yeah.
And this character is stepping out of that,
right,
and dancing to their song.
Yeah, right.
And so there is, I feel like the kind of the intimacy and the emotional connection that we get there is this interesting kind of country component.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, personally, I didn't grow up on country music. I still don't really feel like I have a strong connection to it in any way. But the thing that I do appreciate about it is the storytelling.
Storytelling, absolutely.
100%, yeah. Yeah, and, she was able to bring a lot of my ideas out into life and embody them, in her performance and the lyrics that she brought as well. To it, but it was important for me. This is it's the first song on the EP. I probably had the idea for the title first. I was like, it needs to be about stepping out. And then it felt right for that to be like a opener.
Yes,
of some kind. And I really wanted it to be about someone who is I don't always write from my own perspective, but I really wanted it. And this happens to be kind of one of those cases, for the most part, where I really wanted it to be about someone who is stepping out from a situation that they didn't want to be in anymore and just allowing themselves to be themselves.
Yeah.
And I think,
baby, set me free. Why can't you let me be me?
Right, exactly.
Is the question.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's an interesting, I feel like Yvette is kind of like a partner song to it in a way, because there is seems to me to be kind of male character is seeing someone who is perhaps in a similar situation and encouraging that person to step out with me, with the
right.
From this position of being like a neglected, overdue book on the shelf. All four of the songs on the EP are addresses, but we're addressing baby, in four of them. And it's
lots of baby,
which is good. So you can never have too much baby.
I mean, just look at Robert Plant. Just ask him. He'll tell you that you can never have too much baby.
But a really nice, sweet component of "Put a Spell on Me" actually is so for the first couple of verses, we're thinking about you, baby, oh baby. Then by the end, been thinking about you, woman, my woman. And it's not, in a different song, my woman. It could be like a kind of like possessive thing. But it's not, is it? It's like, I feel, to me, it's like the trajectory that this character goes on in this song is like wanting to commit. There's no chance, it seems, that the character in this song is unlikely to treat his woman like an overdue book on a neglected on a shelf.
I would hope not. Yeah.
And the same thing in Newport Blue.
That one, at least in those two in particular, Put a Spell on Me and Newport Blue. you know, with some like, you know, poetic license here and there, you know, are a little bit more autobiographical.
Yeah.
And yeah, the kind of like you were alluding to, the like by the end, it's kind of like, oh woman, my woman, is definitely comes from more of a feeling of, you know, like not one person belonging to another person, but you kind of choosing to
connect oneself
yeah,
with this person.
yeah, exactly. Connect with to be connected to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a choosing on you know, both parts.
Yeah, it's a different vibe.
It's definitely a different vibe. Yeah.
Here's my woman vibe.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't believe in much, but I believe in you. There's a faith.
Yeah.
There's a kind of true seeing of the person and choosing to connect with that person. Place seems really important. Newport Blue.
Yeah.
And then in Put a Spell on Me, Way Down in New Orleans. That seems to be a conscious, intentional thing.
Yeah.
Could you reflect a bit on the significance of these like specific places?
Yeah. Well, in the case of New Orleans, that does once again tie back to just a very autobiographical, and that might come across in the song. But
yeah, there's Bourbon Street. There's all these specific places.
Yeah, and like for me personally, I love New Orleans, and I had the chance to go for the first time like a couple years ago, and I've been again, and I went with my partner, and that song is really about, you know, just that first experience. I think we went together. It was pretty early on in our relationship, so it is kind of like, you know, about that infatuation with someone. I mean, that's really what it's about.
Yeah.
But, you know, kind of casting it against the backdrop of New Orleans, where like for me personally, Bourbon Street is not on my like to go, you know, list of places to go when I go to New Orleans. I can skip Bourbon Street entirely. It just like, for instance, just like poetic license. You know, it's like Vauquerets and Sazeracs and bourbon, and you know, it's more poetic than
it's relatable
than literal. But the feeling of that song and like, yeah, New Orleans as a place was an extremely powerful character, I guess, in a certain sense in my life at that point. And that was really about, yeah, just kind of like new love or falling in love, you know, in my case, you know, a city I'd never been to, but I was also falling in love with the city as well.
That really comes through.
Yeah.
I think is a large part of like why there are references to specific places. How about with my Newport Blue?
Yeah, so Newport Blue actually doesn't really refer to a place as much as it's like I think Newport cigarettes that like kind of come out with like some sort of, I don't know what the particular brand is. I don't smoke cigarettes, but I just liked the name. And I always like, you know, like a song comes to mind like Ode to Viceroy by Mac DeMarco, something like that, like where he chose to write a love song to his brand of cigarettes that he loves, whatever. And I don't particularly smoke, but it's I guess a poetic tool of just using a name that I liked, and kind of some of the imagery like smoke rings and things like, and setting it really what that song was. I think that was the last song kind of written for the whole thing, and that's when I was kind of, the idea of the motel was kind of all come together. It sounded very 70s.
Motel kind of night. There's a lyric in it. And so that song did it to Modern Zero Motel is the title?
No, so I'd kind of already been throwing that idea around in my head, but so as I was kind of like writing this song, it's the last one on the EP, but it was also the last one I wrote for it. It just, I guess I just wanted it to take place somewhere, and I was like, well, I haven't really mentioned the motel at any point, and it just felt like a natural way to fit it in, and not like contrived, but just like that, like creating that atmosphere of, you know, being in a motel room, you know, with some kind of, you know, lover of some sort, and just kind of using Newport Blue as a very non-specific but evocative sounding kind of thing to call somebody, or sort of a pet name, I guess.
Yeah.
Camel Blue wouldn't have quite had the same ring to it.
Right. True. Yeah.
So the thread, I think, through all 4 of the songs is this consciously valuing what we know to be present when there is like the new love, like the excitement.
Yep.
And certainly recognizing the absence of that when things are stale and someone ends up feeling like a book abandoned on a shelf. And perhaps managing to keep that component alive even when it's no longer just new love.
Right.
So beyond the infatuation stage, like that excitement and the connection,
Yep.
we're still visiting the motel years and years into
Right.
the relationship.
Right.
I feel like the record, like that comes through in the sounds too, like the new way in which the music sounds.
Yeah.
Could we expand a little bit more on the connection between like that, like ethos and the sound?
Yeah. I want to say something quick, and then I'll pass it off to Nigel about the sound. That, like, Seth for sure was a major part in kind of honing what we ended up making in terms of the sound. It kind of came from our idea of what we kind of wanted it to sound like.
Which is kind of like 70s soulful.
Yes. It was very like, it was essentially like we wanted it to sound like, you kind of dusted this off from your dad's stuff in the basement, and you found like a cool kind of like 70s little record that you didn't know existed.
Removed it from the shelf.
Yeah, we took it off the shelf.
It.
Yeah. And I think Nigel can speak to that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely dusty was a word that kept coming up, which I think fits the motel theme very well. I mean, specifically the distinction between motel and hotel. For me, motel implies a little more dust, Maybe the walls are slightly yellowed, maybe they're not, but it's just got that feel to it. And we really tried to encapsulate that in the EP, which is a complete antithesis of a lot of our stuff, which I'd say is a lot more neon and glossy, sometimes a little gothy. So yeah, a lot of shag carpet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to hear and feel the shag carpet,
the AM radio crackle, if you will.
Yeah, the like wood paneled walls.
Yes,
kind of.
exactly.
You want to be able to kind of like be able to put yourself there.
I do hear that.
Yeah.
It's that. Yeah.
Yeah. How we got there exactly is a little, like it's like magic to me.
Right.
But thanks to Seth, and I mean, not to take away any credit from us as well. We definitely like knew what we wanted it to sound like, but for me, not being so much a gear head, it was almost just kind of like almost kind of like magic a little bit. That it got to where it was, but obviously it took a lot of thought and work to like actually put into it.
Another magical thing that just came together yesterday is that in the, for us, very distant future, on the March equinox, Sunshine Emblem and Friends is a quarterly residency that my band have at VFW, and Buried Animals are a favorite local band of mine, so you're on that bill on March 20th, but it's always a Thursday for that residency. It's always an early show, and it's always followed by a dance party. And the magical thing, the reason why I'm talking about it, is that DJ Jenny is going to be DJing the dance party, and I'm really curious and excited about how about the set that Jenny will play to follow this version of Buried Animals.
Yeah. That's I'm also fascinated. I don't know what I'm fascinated to know what kind of version of Buried Animals will show up for that show as well. It's hard to know for sure. Yeah.
Are you working on other material? So this is an EP, and you were saying before we started that you were kind of, or maybe it was at the beginning of the interview, you went back to some earlier songs and kind of put them together as
that was kind of
fitting.
When I was kind of fit. I knew I just wanted the EP to be 4 songs, and so there were a couple, couple that were kind of clear, like these are the ones I want, and then but I kind of in that process I was like searching around for like I need a opener, I need a song that feels like an opener, and I could write one, but I was just happened to be like looking through some stuff that I thought might work, and that happened to be what turned out to be Steppin' Out.
Yeah, because you had aspects of it written before you then went to Abbey.
Yeah, I essentially just had
choreographed.
like the basic piano and bass and drums, like of just like the verse.
Yeah, and the
basically.
notion of stepping out.
Well, at that point, when I just like, I was like, when I initially just came up with the idea, I had no idea what it was going to be. Sometimes you just write something just as an exercise; it doesn't turn into anything. This happened to be at a time that I was like listening to a lot of Bruce Springsteen, and I was like very in a Bruce Springsteen phase, and it doesn't really end up sounding like that at all. But I liked some of the piano work on, or like that he wrote a lot of the stuff off Born to Run, like on piano.
I kind of hear that now. I don't even think I was even privy to that influence, but now that you mention it, even though it's not overt, I can hear a little Born to Run in that piano group.
Yeah, like the project, like when I saved it before I knew what the song would be called, was just called Boss Land.
Oh, really?
Don't even get us started on our working titles. It's
no, working titles
gloriously horrendous.
Yeah.
That's not horrendous. That's fun.
Yeah. But to answer your sort of initial question, working on music, we're working on new stuff. We're in a new kind of stage, I think, of like creating for the both of us, and we're kind of doing something we hadn't really done before, which is we're kind of creating a lot of stuff separately and kind of bringing it together. And so this is kind of the first instance of that. And so at this point, it's a very new thing. And I mean, nothing I can really speak to specifics about, but that is kind of a new stage, and we're kind of like at the start of it, more or less, and who knows how. And that's not to rule out that we won't ever, come up with something together from the start ever. It's just, with lives the way they are, and like, working and not being able to just be a musician for a living is kind of, it can hinder some of that writing and stuff. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I keep joking that we're entering our speaker box, the Love Below era,
Right.
So it's like,
good
it's
analogy.
still us, but we're able to branch out and do some different things. Some of it due to the scheduling and logistical nightmare of trying to be in the same place at the same time creating, and this makes things more expedient. And also just, it's fun to go down our own wormholes of influence, because obviously there's a lot of overlap. But there's also things that one party is particularly into that resonates with them in a certain way, whether it be childhood sounds or just stuff that they're particularly into. And it's a fun way to be able to just go off on those tangents and then bring it together with the whole band and see what happens.
And in this EP, this kind of 70s soulful vibe is primarily from Eric. Is that correct? So what have you been, what rabbit holes, or I can't remember what the metaphor was that you used, but what have you been exploring, and what can we be expecting to like come to fruition from like your side of the double album, Outcast double album that you put out?
Yeah, right. I've been really kind of working on some stuff that's a little more dance oriented. Very 90s dance music has always been a big thing for me. So currently working on some stuff that you see some of that influence in there. You see some acid house, you see some house, some techno, some electro.
I am all the more interested in what this Jenny Buried Animals collab is going to, playing the show together and like doing so intentionally. That's going to be quite an interesting project as that material works its way in.
And I don't know that any of it will be done at that point. It's in the early gestation demo phases. We're really focused on this EP right now and getting this live band together. But it's a fun thing that's starting to percolate. And I think Jenny will definitely have some through lines. I mean, if for nothing else, our older material. And she'll cook something up good. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you were aware of this, but she did we put together a little remix EP of our last record, and she did one of the remixes.
Oh, which song?
She did Rabbit Hole? No. It was Hologram.
I think I was aware of that at the time, and that might
have
have been what made me think to reach out to Jenny, but I had forgotten.
Yeah.
But that's what we can hear at the moment, viewers.
That's right.
Once it's edited.
Yeah. Buried Animals, whatever you listen to, like streaming or whatever. We have a little remix album, a little 4-song kind of remix EP of a few songs off our last record.
Yeah.
And she did one of them. And her and I also work together.
Yes,
well.
I know.
So yeah, it'll be nice to see her out of work as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the music that the viewers have been hearing throughout the episode is mostly the 4 songs from the EP, which is to came out, depending on when you're watching this, on Black Friday. Almost certainly still ahead of you, though, as you're watching this, is that show at Mortimer's. The other bands, Finesse is playing, and Wolf Baby Cup.
Yeah, that's as far as I know. That's how you say it. Yeah. I don't know if you like the question mark at the end is a part of it, but
Wolf Baby Cup.
There you go. As far as I know. Yeah.
I think it's Wolf Baby Cup.
Yeah. Cup.
Put a question mark on the teleprompter.
Well, first of all, Finesse has just been easily. I mean, I think I can speak for the both of us in this sense. That easily has been one of our favorite local bands.
Finesse, very much too.
Great band, and also just based on their style. Their style is very in line with, a lot of our previous stuff, and so we love that band. And then Wolf Baby Cup is not a band that either of us have played with or seen or anything, but they had asked us to play some other kind of show. We couldn't, but I had, just by virtue of them asking, I hadn't heard of them before. I decided to listen to their music just to see what it was like, and it was very up our alley. So I was like, that'd be cool to kind of like incorporate these 2 bands that I think are very kind of encapsulate in their own way, like where we've kind of been.
Yeah.
As a way to, because we'll play some of the old stuff, I'm sure, at this release show, but it'll be a nice way to kind of come from where we've been into like what we're doing now with this particular EP.
Yeah, I love it, and I think if I'm remembering correctly now, it was actually Finesse was on the bill with you when you played at Mortimer's for Back to the City right before the pandemic.
It was
on Halloween.
Oh,
it was
indeed.
on the day of Halloween, wasn't it?
Yep.
You did the poster.
It was definitely a Halloween show. Yeah. Alexis Politz did the poster.
Yeah. So I remember you.
But yeah, I probably organized
you
it.
You mediated it. Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. It was great. I love that artwork. I am really excited, again, as already established, for these songs to come to life with the extra members. How many other musicians are you planning to get involved? Which instruments will be working away? Is this decided yet?
It is. It's the goal is to have obviously Eric and I. So I'll be doing the keys. Eric will be doing vocals and a little auxiliary percussion here and there. Seth on the drums and his dulcet tones on some background vocals.
Abby,
and then
probably I thought.
Abby, I don't think so. I mean, unless as a quick aside, her and Mike, her partner, who they're essentially goat roper, the 2 of them with some other musicians, they moved to New York.
Oh, I see.
So unless she's back, which would be fun and super cool, but she might not be, which is fine. And in which case, I haven't quite worked that out yet, but someone will sing the song. We're gonna play it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess in addition to all of that, guitar, hopefully making an appearance there, and some saxophone and
the sax.
Yeah, and the sax has been a semi-regular part of our live setup of late, which has been a really fun treat. It's on some of the songs by default, and it also finds its way into some songs where maybe on the record they don't have sax, but live it's definitely a nice flavor.
I love the sax on Yvette.
Yes.
And how it echoes the baby.
Yeah.
That's really fits with what we were talking before about the connection and the intimacy and the excitement.
Yeah.
I feel like sonically, that fits with that component so nicely.
Sure.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, actually, the first track on our first record, Cold Comfort, way back in 2019, has a sax on it. So that's, weirdly enough, been a through line throughout our discography, but it's fun to give it more of a front and center role. I mean, it's
Yeah.
on, what, 3 of the 4 tracks on the EP?
Yeah, with to some varying degree or another, but yeah, 3 out of the 4, which is not normal for us because, like Nigel was alluding to, so I mean, just to let the cat out of the bag a little bit. My dad is the one who plays sax.
Oh,
Or a family band.
and so previous to the EP, we had him play, like Nigel was saying, on the first record, and then we had him, just one song, and then we had him play on one song on the next record, our last record. And so it was kind of getting to the, Ringo territory of like, well, we need to get a song for Ringo to sing. And it was like, well, what song are we going to have my dad play sax on, right? And
all
so,
of them but one.
What's that?
In this instance, all of them but one.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And in this case, it was fun because it was like, well, obviously, my dad was, he lived through the 70s. And so even just him, like, enjoying the songs is enough of a, stamp of approval in my kind of opinion, for sure, in terms of, like, it doesn't have to sound exactly like, necessarily like songs from the 70s, but just the fact that he, gravitated towards them. But because of that too, it was like, well, sax just it can't really just be limited to one. It was beyond. Ringo was becoming too good of a singer. We needed to get him on more material.
So Ringo's your dad? It's a messy.
Yeah, right. It's a messy analogy, but yeah, his instrument just was called for so much more in this style.
Yeah, totally.
And like I said, he lived through that era, so having him play on it, not only was it like a sort of a stamp of approval for me personally and for the band, it was also like, it also kind of serves as a little bit of like a certain bona fides of like, kind of a 70s thing that we're going for. It's like, well, a guy who lived through and played sax and played music through 70s is 70s and 80s, but still, and 90s, and still plays today, still plays with us. But just a guy who lived through that. It's like an extra little badge of honor and cred.
Totally.
Yeah, it's like an authentic through line, and funnily enough, I don't think I ever really looked at it in those terms.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So I suppose I have to ask whether your dad will be joining you.
Oh yeah. He'll be there. Yeah, we've actually benefited in a way from his recent retirement from his day job. So
Right, they said don't quit your day job.
well,
did he get the memo?
Luckily, I think he aged out of that.
Okay.
That rule. Yeah. So yeah, we've benefited from that because now he can. I mean, it's up to him whether he wants to play or not, but he can play a late show on a night where maybe he would normally had to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
Now he can sort of not have to think about that or worry about that, which is, like I said, has worked to our advantage.
Brilliant. Well,
Yeah.
I was already excited for the show. Now I'm all the more excited to meet your dad
Yep.
and also enjoy the show.
Yep.
Which, again, one last time, is Saturday, January 25th at Mort's with Finesse and Wolf Baby Cub.
Indeed. Oh, the one other instrument that I did not mention, maybe the most important one of all, will be live bass as well.
Live bass.
Yeah, live bass.
So,
Yeah.
Gotta have
Oh,
the live
cool.
bass.
Yeah. Once again, a thing that we haven't really, there's like a little bit, like maybe in the background of a song or two, in previous work, but we've definitely relied on that synth bass. That very kind of like, kind of grimy a lot of the time, or kind of farty, as we've kind of said at times. I know it's not the best way to put it, but yeah, kind of it has a character to it, bass. And with the 70s stuff, obviously there were synths around. I'm not saying those didn't exist, but
They were in the room.
we were going for more of an organic kind of sound, which lended itself to that very warm and like that kind of like 70s like Motown, James Jamerson kind of bass tone stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I love it. And again, we've been hearing songs from the record throughout the episode. Everyone can get it anywhere online if it's after Black Friday. By the time you're watching this, Black Friday is the release.
Yeah.
Immerse yourself in the record before joining the band at Mortimer's on January 25th.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you wanted to, you can stream it or wherever. But if you wanted to kind of get to us more directly, Bandcamp is also, it's a little bit more in terms of financially.
Yeah.
It's a little more direct, if that's what you're interested in.
Yeah, I'm sure people are interested in supporting you.
Just putting it out there.
Smash that like and subscribe button.
Yeah, right. Yeah, follow us on YouTube. We well, actually, real quick. I did have a friend do some lyric videos that will also be coming out on Black Friday. They're all individually coming out, and those are on our YouTube channel.
Very cool.
Buried Animals on everything. We're easy to find in terms of the name.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So go to all those places and then come to Mortimer's. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you, Simon.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And please keep at it. I'm looking forward to the techno.
It'll be coming.
Me too.
Cool. This has been Back to the City. I'm Simon Calder, Buried Animals. Thank you for joining us, viewers. We'll see you at Mortimer's on January 25th.